Do you know that hidden deep within the forests of northern Alabama stands a massive stone bridge that no human hands ever built, yet it has silently outlived entire civilizations?
Just outside the small town of Haleyville lies one of the most unusual geological formations in the United States, Alabama's Natural Bridge. Stretching 148 feet in length, rising roughly 60 feet high, and measuring about 20 feet thick, this enormous arch of sandstone appears almost too perfect to be accidental.
It looks engineered, intentional, like something designed to carry weight and withstand time. But its origin tells a very different story. To understand how this bridge came to exist, you have to go back, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions of years into the past, to a time when this entire region was unrecognizable. Long before forests covered Alabama, this land sat beneath shallow seas and vast river systems. Sediment, fine grains of sand, silt, and mineral fragments, slowly settled over the landscape. Over time, these layers built up, one upon another, compressed by the immense weight above them. Heat and pressure transformed them into solid rock, creating thick beds of sandstone that would become the foundation of the region. But the Earth is never still. As geological time progressed, tectonic shifts lifted these rock layers upward. The seas receded, rivers carved new paths, wind, rain, and temperature changes began their slow, relentless work on the exposed stone. Cracks formed, water seeped in. During colder periods, that water froze and expanded, prying the rock apart, bit by bit. At first, the changes were microscopic, too small to notice. But over thousands, then millions of years, those tiny fractures widened. Channels formed beneath the surface. Water carved out hidden spaces, dissolving weaker materials and carrying them away. What started as hairline cracks evolved into hollow chambers deep within the rock. Eventually, a cavern formed beneath a massive slab of sandstone. Then came the collapse. At some unknown moment in the distant past, much of that underground cavern gave way. The ceiling fell inward, crashing down under its own weight. Rock that had stood for ages suddenly shattered and dropped, filling the void below. But not all of it fell. One enormous section of sandstone remained intact, strong enough, balanced enough, and positioned just right to resist the collapse that took everything else. That surviving slab became suspended between two sides of the broken formation. That single act of resistance is what created Alabama's Natural Bridge. In the simplest terms, what stands today is the roof of a cave that refused to fall. Long before modern roads, before maps, before even written records in this region, Native American tribes, such as the Chickasaw and Cherokee, lived across these lands. They hunted, traveled, and built their lives in close connection with the natural world. While there are no confirmed written accounts describing specific rituals at the bridge, formations like this rarely went unnoticed. In many indigenous cultures, unusual natural structures were often seen as spiritually significant, places where the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds felt thinner. A structure this large, this unexpected, rising silently from the forest floor, would not have been viewed as ordinary. It would have been respected, observed, remembered. To those who lived with the land, the bridge was not just stone, it was meaning. As centuries passed and European settlers began moving into Alabama during the 18th and 19th centuries, the Natural Bridge gradually became known beyond indigenous communities. Early travelers, explorers, and settlers heard stories of a massive rock formation hidden in the woods near what would later become Haleyville. Reaching it was not easy. There were no paved roads, no marked trails, no signs pointing the way. Those who wanted to see it had to travel through dense forest, navigating uneven terrain and relying on local knowledge. But despite the difficulty, word spread. By the late 1800s, the bridge had become a regional curiosity.
Visitors began making the journey, some out of scientific interest, others driven by simple fascination. Early accounts describe the moment of arrival in similar ways: a quiet walk through the forest, the sound of leaves underfoot, the canopy overhead filtering the sunlight. And then, suddenly, the trees part, and the bridge appears.
Massive, silent, unmoving. Standing beneath it, people often felt the same thing, a mix of awe and disbelief. How could something like this exist without human design? How had it survived when everything around it had collapsed? By the early 20th century, efforts were made to preserve the site. The surrounding land was eventually designated as Natural Bridge Park, protecting it from development and ensuring that future generations could experience it much as earlier visitors had. Unlike many natural landmarks that became heavily commercialized, this site remained relatively untouched. There are no towering structures built around it, no overwhelming crowds, no distractions pulling attention away from the formation itself. The experience is still simple. You walk, you listen, you arrive, and then you stand beneath something that has existed longer than human history in that region. Geologically, the bridge owes its survival to the strength of the rock itself. It is composed of Pottsville sandstone, a material known for its durability and resistance to erosion. While the surrounding rock layers were weaker and more prone to collapse, this section had the structural integrity needed to endure. But survival does not mean permanence. The same forces that created the bridge are still active today. Rain continues to fall, seeping into the stone. Temperature changes cause expansion and contraction. Wind carries particles that slowly wear down the surface. These processes are gradual, far too slow to notice in a single lifetime, but they never stop. Every year, the bridge changes, even if those changes are invisible. And over enough time, even the strongest structures give way. One day, whether it is thousands or millions of years from now, the bridge will collapse, just as the cavern beneath it once did. The process that created it will complete its cycle. But that moment has not come yet. Today, Alabama's natural bridge still stands. It stands through storms, through seasons, through the quiet passage of time. It stands as a reminder of the forces that shape the earth, not in sudden, dramatic events, but in slow, persistent change. And perhaps that is what makes it so powerful. Because in a world defined by speed, noise, and constant movement, this bridge exists on a completely different scale. It does not rush. It does not react. It simply endures. When you stand beneath it, you are not just looking at a rock formation. You are looking at millions of years of history held together in a single structure. You are looking at the result of pressure, collapse, and survival. You are looking at the moment when everything fell, except one piece that didn't, and that one piece became a bridge.